wrap up camp and start to transition. And certainly we appreciate the efforts that go into training camp, and a lot of work gets done, and excited to transition. The training camp's kind of the last of the 4 phases that you get. Winter conditioning, and spring ball, and summer conditioning, and fall camp, and now we're not too far out from starting this season. And obviously, I think all the time, as you go through the season, you still got to be working to get better. But I think there's a lot of good that came out of camp, and it doesn't just happen. You appreciate the efforts that people put in to make it that, and yet we still got to keep going.
Well, one guy that was healthy for the whole camp that has injury problems before is Isaac Guerendo.
Yeah.
Now that you got to see him for an extended period of time healthy, what did you see him in terms of his development at that spot?
Yeah, I think there's no question it was energizing, to see Isaac stay healthy to where he could take advantage of the reps, and I think what came out of that was he can gain confidence, in understanding the position, and I think that's why reps are so valuable. And there's times when, there was times today, and there'll be a lot of them where it may not be exactly how you want it to look, but it's a great learning opportunity. But to really get it, you got to be in it and to feel it and to see it, and a lot of it's reactionary. And so I think that's been the great. They kind of go hand in hand, but it's been fun and to kind of see his. Almost there's a I want to say calmness, but as you get an understanding and a confidence, it kind of can relax you a little bit to where you can play. And Isaac's a good example, and I think that's there's a number of guys that would fit into that category, and yet you just keep going. There's still every guy's got to keep working.
Well, we've heard from a lot of the outside linebackers that they will focus on the get off and the pass rush. How have you seen that develop here?
I think outside linebacker group. I love watching them work, and I think Bobby April coaches them, does a great job. And obviously, that's a big part of it. Especially so many things that we're asking them to do, and I think you hear it a lot in sports. You want them to play fast. But I think that to do that, you have to coach it, and I think that's what Bobby does a great job. It's part of the playing fast is the physical part, such as the get off. Let's not false step, and let's anticipate. But it's also knowing what you're doing and where you're going and how you're attacking, and I think that it kind of goes together. And so you see it. You see it in guys starting to. I think it's every position's like that, right? You see it, you trust it, and you can focus, and I think those little things become huge when playing the game.
Well, you talked at Big Ten Media Day about the percentage of your guys that were vaccinated. You said it was over 85. Do you know what it is now?
Haven't done the math on it, but it's had a few more.
Well, Rudy obviously cross-trains certain guys, maybe guard, tackle, whatever.
Right.
Cormac Sampson looks like he's played pretty much everything but maybe right tackle. I don't know if I've seen him there. Is that easy to do? Does he make it look easy? How difficult is that, relatively speaking?
Yeah, I think there's challenges to it, and I think certain guys handle those better, and heck, he's played tight end, right? And so I think for a guy like Cormac, kind of knowing how he is and kind of where he's at in his development, he can handle it because he kind of knows how it all fits. At some point, it's going to be beneficial, right? You got a perspective from all of it, but if you did that with a lot of guys, it can be hard on guys if not done at the right time. And I think that's what's kind of what Cormac has done and how he's approached it has kind of allowed for that to happen. Where if you did it with just every guy say this is what you're going to do, it wouldn't be. I don't think it'd be fair to all.
It seemed like towards the end of practices that we got to see that Marcus Allen was getting a few more reps. What has stood out about him?
Marcus is he's like his. Glad he's here, right? We think he's got some talent, and like all the freshmen, right? It's just the more reps you can get, the less thinking you'll do, and I think we've got a lot of that group that's doing a good job of trying to put the time in off the field so that they can take advantage of those reps. And I think one thing that hit me, kind of reinforced it again, is our practices are probably a lot different than what a lot of our guys are used to, kind of as far as intensity and where that's. So I think it's learning that, which I think bodes well, because our games are different than our practices. You try to make your practices as much the game speed and game intensity, but everything steps up. So I think I've liked the way he's approached it. I'm excited about his abilities, and I'm excited about his intentions. He's got to keep working.
Paul, we've seen Braylon Allen, and he's talked about learning that running back position in a more in-depth way than he had before.
Yeah.
Where have you seen that kind of happen, either on or off the field for him?
Yeah, I think it's. I think he's doing it. And he's trying to apply the coaching points that are being made to him, and I think another thing, with him is, I watched games and he was playing. It was this spring, and it was. He had a lot of success, right? And as you go, you can be doing a really good thing, and a 3-4 yard run is a good run. And yet I think that there's also kind of a learning curve for those guys that I didn't break it for a touchdown, right? And so I think that there's just a lot to learn, and I love his approach and how he goes about it. You just got to continue to keep grinding away at it.
Paul, with Keeanu, I was talking to Nick Herbig yesterday. He mentioned during one practice where he had a bad day and the defense had a bad day, but then Keeanu ripped off 3 tackles for loss in a row. Has there been any plays that you've seen from Keeanu in fall camp that have just made you say wow or stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Keanu's a really good player, and I love the way he approaches every day, and and they're not all the things that you can go watch any practice film, watch the tape back, and he's going to do some will equal a production point like that, but equally there's some impressives that don't, and I love the way he comes about, and he continues to grow, and I think Ross has done a great job of kind of coaching that group, and Keanu's in that kind of neat part of his maturation as a player, where I think he's understanding and knowing, here's a guy that he knows what he's preparing for, right? And he's gone through a lot of things, and so I think the small coaching points make a difference, and he can apply those. And so it's love the way that he started this year, and excited to see his continued growth, because he's a guy that I think can make a big impact for this team.
Well, the offensive line group with Jack Nelson being a redshirt freshman and a lot of super seniors in that group. What are you seeing from the development side of Jack? How's he picking up with these guys?
Yeah, I think Jack's done a really good job of trying to take advantage of each not just each practice, but each play that he gets in, and each time he's in a drill. I think he's got it's clear he wants to do all he can to be the best player he can be for this group, and I give credit. I obviously think a lot of the way Joe works with that group, and I love the way our older guys work with him, and he's together. That's what it takes, and all the whether it's playing next to Brusser. Brusser was young at one time, and he knows the value of it, and I love seeing that. But he's going to take it to heart, and he's going to work, and I like his abilities, so he can apply things, and so you just got to keep going, and I think as you go, you also got to understand who you are as a player and what you can do, and that's a lot of what we do in camp. How do you push yourself out of your comfort zone to try to be better than you might thought you were? And I think he does all that. He's going to try to push himself.
Paul, Alexander Smith's a guy who's pushing for playing time in the secondary. What do you like about what you've seen from him here in camp?
I think that Alex has done a great job. I've been proud of him the way that kind of he's approached, in many ways, this whole year. And a guy that is going to find a way, whether it's in in the defensive backfield or in special teams, to impact his team. And I think that he's a guy that's kind of coming into his, it's fun to see guys mature and grow, and I think he realizes that he can, make a positive impact on this team in a number of different ways. And I think he's, certainly I think that group's benefiting from, what, the attention and the time that Hank has been able to give Coach Poteet, and he's a guy that wants to take the coaching points and will apply it. And I've been excited about him and that group, the way they're approaching it. And again, there's some really good veteran guys in that group, and they help. That's pretty good.